That's my favorite little bar. When a hot band's playing, the people come from near and far. That's where the women are hot, the liquor is cheap, and the food, it tastes so good. So when I'm down and out, I just think to myself, it would be great if I only could. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, where everybody's feeling fine. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, where they treat you so kind. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, boy, I had a real good time. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, down in Georgia on the coastline.
Tipsy McSway's at 1414 Newcastle Street in historic downtown Brunswick, Georgia is your friendly neighborhood bar and grill where you'll find it all. Good food, good music, good times. I want to go back to Tipsy's.
Well, if you wanna get wild, you're feeling alright, and it's time for you to blow a fuse. Come ready, jump and shout, and really get loud, guaranteed to lose your blues. Yeah, by the time to go home, you won't stay alone, you're gonna find some TLC. And for the rest of your life, you remember the night down in Georgia by the sea. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, where everybody's feeling fine. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, where they treat you so kind. Yeah, I wanna go back to Tipsy's, boy, I had a real good time. I wanna go back to Tipsy's, down in Georgia on the coastline.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall. Something in my blood starts to
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Something in the Water podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Sean Clark, and
I'm Uncle Dave Griffin. Our guest this time is a good old buddy of mine, former drummer in a band that I played in called The Keepers, Mr. Gary Brown. Gary, we're glad to have you, buddy.
Well, I'm glad that I'm here for you to have me.
Yeah, we did play briefly in a band together, but you've been playing around Waycross for a long time prior to our little experiment.
Yeah.
You grew up in the Winona Park section of Waycross, which is in the county, out Albany Avenue, for all you historians out there.
Stanton Avenue.
Stanton Avenue, okay. But Winona Park has been pretty doggone prolific with its musicians and bands and all.
Mm-hmm.
Who's let's see, Jimmy Vining, guitar player from Waycross, early bands, 60s bands, I'd say the garage band era. Ross Peed was living out there.
Lim Johnson,
the
bass player. A Bird, Dan Bird, he was a keyboardist.
I don't remember.
He lived on DeWitt Street, the other side of Stanton, across Albany Avenue. Bird. Was his last name B-Y-R-D?
Yeah.
Yep. He played with might have been the Riots. No. It was another group. Bobby Braddock was in the Warlocks. The Warlocks.
The Warlocks.
And
Okay.
Dan Bird played that with that. He played keyboards in that group. Cox played bass.
Who?
Which Cox was it from the Swamp Road? Played bass guitar.
Chris
Cox.
Yeah.
He played bass guitar with that.
That would have been Marty Cox's brother.
Brother Chris. That's right.
And Hubert Cox's son.
That's right.
Hubert Cox was a pretty legendary fiddle player from Ware County down around here in the swamp.
Mike Hadaway. That's another drummer from.
Oh,
off the
yeah.
Mike
I remember
Hadaway.
Hadaway. Yeah.
He lived about 2 houses down from Bobby Braddock. Lived about 4 houses down from me.
I always
Ross
figured him
lived-
to be city school.
No,
Hadaway? He was county?
I don't know where he went to school.
Oh, okay.
But he lived on Stanton Avenue.
Okay. Yeah.
So did everybody just live in this neighborhood?
Well,
like all these players.
Winona Park is like
Yeah.
Cherokee Heights. You
Yeah.
know? So
I'm
it's
saying,
pretty
like,
big.
were a lot of these folks friends that like, oh, I'm gonna learn this, I'm gonna learn that, or was it just coincidence that there were so many players over there?
We all grew up together. We all, I guess we all thought we wanted to be musicians.
Yeah.
Would it have been after the Beatles? Or even
About when the
prior to
Beatles in
that?
the 64, is that when the Beatles come out?
Yeah.
64?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been around in that time. And I guess
You'd have been
that's what
about
was it.
12 or 13.
Yep.
Depending on what month your birthday is.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because you're 2 years older than I am, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I know I was talking to Rita the other day, and she said she was in the 8th grade when she started singing with us. But when we started playing, we couldn't even drive ourselves to the gigs. We didn't have no license. We was, I guess, 12 or 13, 14 years old.
Your mama's probably. Mama's drove you to ball practice and stuff
You know
like that.
Feller Hill, James Hill.
Yeah.
It's got VT,
VVT.
VDT,
VV.
VB,
V. Double V.
VV amplifiers.
T. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I remember.
me and
James
him had
Hill.
a little band one time, and his mama, she had something to do with the VFW.
Mm-hmm.
And we played down there at the VFW, me and him and maybe Rowe, Bubba Rowe.
Bubba
Clayton
Rowe.
Rowe.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah. But we was, all of us wanted to be in a band, and we was trying, we about everybody we saw, we tried to stop and say, hey, let's get together and let's make some music.
Let's get a band.
Get a band. So,
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's the way it was, though. That was when the Beatles hit, it was like the next day, you know.
That was the new Cowboys and Indians.
Guitar sales went up
oh yeah.
at Harold's music store. I'm sure they sold a lot of guitars, a lot of drums right off the bat. Now, but the interesting thing about you is that you're you drummer and keyboard player. So which came first? And how did that come about even?
Well, whenever I was probably in the 4th or 5th grade, I wanted to play something, and I wanted to take some piano lessons. But I already had got to a piano and learned how to play a few things like boogie woogie, and I picked it out myself.
About you. Yeah.
And so whenever I started taking my lessons, and they want me to play Swans on the Lake and From a Wigwam and stuff, and it's just basic stuff, and I'm thinking, no, listen to this Chuck Berry thing I've got going, you know. So I didn't follow along with the piano lessons. I wish I had of, because it would have really helped later. But anyway, I goofed around with that a little bit, and always banged around on a piano all my life. But whenever we started trying to get a band together, I think it was about the time that me and Ross Pede started hanging together. And he had a set of drums, and I played around on them some. And then I got me a set of drums. I said, well, I'll be a drummer, and I'll play drums. And then me and Jerry Boyette and Bobby Boyette got together, and they're my cousins. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we're cousins. And decided we'd get us a band together. And so we did, and we tried to get somebody else in there with us, and we figured out somehow then that we needed that we wanted a keyboard. Maybe somebody like Paul Revere and the Raiders come out, or somebody that had a keyboard, and we said, we need a keyboard. So we were looking around for a keyboard, and we run into Danny Altman. And, well, he's a drummer. And so I said, well, heck, let's get him to play the drums. I'll just play a keyboard. I'll get a keyboard and play it. So that's how we started. I believe that was the Wall of Sound when we first started. That was who was in that group.
Throw that picture up, Justin, Wall of Sound. And this would have been, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, there's Jerry, Bobby, Danny's on the right. That's Rita in the middle. The Wall of Sound.
All right, starting in.
That's me on the left.
Starting with Gary on the top left corner there. That's Gary Brown.
Yeah.
Keyboard player for the Wall of Sound.
Right.
Next to him is Rita McDaniel.
Yeah.
Now later, her sister, her younger sister Connie McDaniel, joined.
Yeah.
I guess the Wall of Sound, or was she? Yeah, okay. And then to the right of Rita there is my old classmate from high school, Danny Altman. He and I graduated in the same year, and Danny just happened to be the very first drummer for Sweetbriar.
Oh yeah,
mine and Billy Ray's band.
I knew I'd heard his name.
Mm-hmm. He's no longer with us. God rest his soul.
That's right.
Right below him is Jerry Boyette, the bass player, and next to him there on the other side of the bass drum is his younger brother, Bobby Boyette, who's no longer with us either. Jerry's still here, isn't he?
Jerry's passed.
Jerry's gone?
Both of them's Danny, Jerry, and Bobby's dead.
Okay. But boy, that was a tight band right there. Y'all had and then that band became you left that band, and then it transformed into Delta.
Yeah.
Which was a real force to be reckoned with. I mean, everybody was older, and the music was, I guess, more rock and roll. I can't remember what y'all even sounded like because I was sheltered. I didn't go to the National Guard Armory or the City Auditorium when all these bands, local bands, would play there.
Well, we actually we practiced a lot, but we stayed on the road playing.
Wall of Sound?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Rita's daddy, Daryl, he appointed himself our manager because none of us could drive a car. And he said, I'll take y'all to these gigs. And he started booking us. And we started playing Army and Navy bases and on a circuit.
Wow.
In fact, we was in Atlanta, me and Rita was talking a few days ago. What happened to me, I felt bad about it, but when I was off in Atlanta, or she thinks it might have been Doraville or Norcross or somewhere where my first daughter was born. And so I came back, and Rita had to play keyboards that night. And she said, we were talking about that here a while back. I asked her, did she still hold that against me? And she said, no, but I learned a lot. She said, Jerry knew the chords and he knew how to tell me. And she said, it helped me later on whenever I got with the keepers to play some keyboards and stuff. Anyway, that was what happened with Danny was replaced by a guy out of Douglas, a drummer out of Douglas.
Wayne Hutchison.
Wayne Hutchison was his name, and I was replaced by Madison Gibson.
Yeah.
And you talking about he's a musician. That feller is.
That's Jonathan.
Yeah.
He replaced you playing keyboards?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we talked about this on another episode.
Yeah, that was the group that became Delta.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's
So how long?
He played a B3.
You were in the Wall of Sound when your daughter was born?
Yeah.
So with that picture that we just showed, that was high school, wasn't it?
Or grammar. Yeah, that was high school. Yeah.
So you were Wall of Sound was a long-term band, pretty good. I mean, 4 or 5 years. Or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. I don't know how many years, but it was a long time.
Did you make some good money? Y'all made some good money in that. Pretty good for the
other
times.
day, Rita
wasn't it?
said she made enough to pay buy her own clothes, school clothes, and tithe. She's big into the church and doing that sort of thing. So, yeah, she told me that one time that she made enough money to tithe and buy her what she wanted to buy and stuff. And we didn't make no killing. We didn't make a pile of money, but we did all right. You know, we wasn't. We was more about. We was going to be on the Ed Sullivan show. We didn't. Daryl told us that, and we was young enough to think, well, you know, we might could do that. We never made it to the Ed Sullivan show, but
at least you had it in your head and had something to strive for.
We had something to strive for. That was a goal, and we tried hard.
Well, it probably made you better players, you know,
It might have.
just by having that goal, you know.
Yeah. You know, Bobby, we were talking the other day, me and Rita was, about the Wall of Sound. And she said, I didn't know you'd remember anything about that. And I said, yeah, I remember a lot about the Wall of Sound and us and old kids, you know, I mean. And she said that, I said, well, what do you remember? She said, she said, mostly I remember Bobby drinking. He'd go to these army bases, Davy, clubs, stuff like that. And whoever left a drink on the table, he'd drink it. He'd get plastered. I'm talking about me walking drunk, playing lead guitar.
He was very little. Very
he was
young.
a little tiny fella. We all didn't weigh, 100 pounds probably. But anyway, she said, I remember Bobby. Just you had to watch him. He would get drunk on you. He'd drink him some stuff, and he wasn't the only one either. But that's one we like to talk about.
Yeah. What kind of guitar was that he had down there?
That was a Vox.
Vox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that was
Okay. Teardrop looking.
Is that a Fender that Jerry's got?
Yeah, that's a
bass?
precision bass, or
He went to a Hagstrom
jazz
8-string for some
jazz
reason.
master or something.
He wound up getting a Hagstrom 8-string bass and playing that.
wow.
Where is that? That looks like a school or something. That picture was taken. It looks like a.
Don't know.
Yeah.
It might have. Yeah,
Let's
I don't
see.
know.
You got the medallions and beads,
Oh yeah.
necklaces. Everybody's got the necklace. What year? That would have been about 67 or
I would
68,
think before that, but
66 maybe.
Yeah, around 65 or 66.
Dang. That is so cool. So your first band that you were in, you were a keyboard player.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I started out with the drums with this, but before we ever played out, we decided to get Danny to play drums, and I went to keyboards, and so I bought a some kind of a organ or something. And started playing that. I think it was a Gibson organ.
Mm.
Now, the Keepers, that's
many years later.
Yeah, that was later.
80.
80
well, we started the group in 85. Gary came aboard probably about 87 or 88. But
It was 87, I imagine.
we'll get to that in a minute. But did you ever play drums in another rock and roll band?
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, but it was short-lived because we never did get things going. But
Get
like
rolling.
Ross was a drummer.
Ross
but at
Peak,
one time, I was playing drums, and he was up front singing.
Ross couldn't never decide whether he wanted to drum or play guitar.
That's
he
right.
was equally good at both.
He was good. Ross is a real good drummer.
Yeah, he is.
I never heard him
You
play
never
drums.
knew that, did you?
Yeah.
About
He's
Ross.
way ahead of a lot of drummers.
Wow.
Way ahead of a lot of drummers. But he quit with the drums and started singing and wanting to play guitar and stuff like that. But it was me and I was playing drums, and Ronnie Logan, I think, and Andy Patterson.
Mm-hmm. He runs a website now
That's
called
right.
Southern
He
Garage
was-
Bands.
And Ralph Lloyd,
Yep.
he was playing. And all I can remember about that group is we played, we were at the high school playing, and Hey You Get Off My Cloud, the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, our repertoire was probably 6 songs, and we was playing, a gig with about 6 songs. Little Black Egg was one of them, and Cherry Pie. You remember the song called Cherry Pie, Gimme, Gimme Some? Anyway, every time we went to play, every 5th or 6th song was Get Off My Cloud again,
Again.
And every time
Repeat.
I'd say, Ross, how does that start? And he'd turn around and I'd say, I got it. And I'm telling you, I don't know if it was my nerves or just that my brain just don't function that well. He had to tell me every time how that thing started. And years later, whenever the keepers, when we were playing, sometimes, and we played 4 nights a week for years.
Yeah.
And sometimes and we had a song list, and it'd be something I sang. I'd say, Wayne, what's the first couple of words to this song? He'd say, Gary, you've been singing it every night for 6 years. I said, I don't care. Just give me a couple of words. And he'd give me a couple of words, and I'd have it from then on. Yeah. But I'd draw a complete blank on getting started.
Just like
that
a whale.
sometimes. On songs I wrote, and just playing them just played it last night, but this night I can't remember.
Yeah, man, a mind is a terrible thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot going on in them minds of ours. I grant you, with all that music rolling around in there. You remember the name of that band with Ross and Ralph and them? You remember what y'all called yourselves?
No,
Names back in the
I can't
60s, they were
remember.
great. There were some great ones.
Mother's Little Helpers.
That was John Smith's, Bill Smith's band.
All right.
Then you had the Riots, the Henchmen, the Warlocks.
The Young Bloods. That was a group that I was in for a while.
Really?
And that
Okay.
might have been the name that Ross and them was in, because Andy and Ronnie Logan and Andy Patterson was in it.
Yeah.
And I was in it. And maybe Ross decided to go off and do something else, and we stayed together as the Young Bloods and trying to do something, and it fizzled out too.
Yeah, everybody was constant motion back in those days, jumping around. And have you ever been to that website, southerngaragebands.com?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because they
In
don't.
fact, that picture you showed of us is on that website.
Is it? Okay, cool. That might have been where I grabbed it from.
Might have been.
They it's extensive. I mean, you go to that page and see all the bands that are on that website in alphabetical order. And it's not limited to Georgia. It's Georgia, Alabama, Florida.
Yep.
They might even get into the Carolinas, too.
I
Just
believe they did.
Great website. And Andy Patterson and another guy runs it. And I think they're both out of Valdosta now, but they were original Waycross boys.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great website if you want to just historically, look at the music that was around these parts. They categorize it and supply as much information as they can. In fact, they reach out to the original band members and ask them to give them pictures and stories and lineups, of the personnel, and they take in all the Allman Brothers, early bands, and like Hourglass and Almond Joys, and
they did everybody.
Yeah, they
every
did.
level.
It was at all the levels, for even little old Waycross. And Douglas had their scene. Jessup had their scene. Brunswick had, it was like all of these little towns had their music scene, Waycross was just another one, but we had our Ross Peeds and John Smiths and Bill Smiths, and it's just pretty fascinating stuff. Okay, so let's go back to high school. We both went to Ware County High School. I was a freshman there in 1967 is when I entered high school. And I had to make a choice. I remember being presented with this in the 8th grade prior to high school. When you were signing up for high school, you had your core curriculum, your English, math, science, all of that. Then you had a spot for extracurricular, and that could be one of three things. You could take PE, chorus, or band. And I looked at them three. I had to choose one of them. And Daddy had just retired from the Air Force, where we had spent last year and a half in Tampa. And down there, big city Tampa was a lot bigger deal than Ware County, Waycross. And I had spent a year and a half down there in a junior high school, which was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade down there. And I had to take PE. It was required down there, physical education. And man, you'd have to buy a T-shirt and little gym shorts and dress out every day, right in the middle of school, All right, you got PE, 3rd period. Oh, boy, okay, you get in there, you change out of your street clothes into your gym shorts, you run around out there like an Indian and playing soccer and whatever and doing chin-ups and then you come back inside, jump in the shower at school and shower off and throw your school clothes back on and go back to school. I said, I'd had enough of that. And so I said, all right, my second chance is chorus there. I can't sing. So I'm going to take band. And what instrument did I choose? Well, I'll choose the drum. And I had spent my freshman year learning how to play a drum. And the remarkable thing about that was that first year of my high school was the first year of the brand new band director, John R. Bowles. I think he came from Alabama.
I believe that's right.
But you were already in the band. And that my freshman year, I was not in the marching band because I was still learning how to play. So let's see. you there you are, right there.
Well, I'll be dang. Let me see that. Boy, you talking about
Okay. That was my freshman year, which I'm not in the picture.
That's the freshman year?
That's my freshman year, 67,
You're a freshman.
68.
Okay. I think I was
So
on,
you would have been 11th grade that year.
Yeah, I was on Timbales at that time, I'm pretty sure. Isn't that what that
Yep.
is?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you got the Timbali mallets.
Yeah. And the guy next to me right there
To the right or
to
left?
the left,
That's Jimmy Duncombe,
Jimmy Duncan.
the bass drum.
He was the bass drum player. You remember that?
I do. And next to him, going on down the line, that's Johnny Highsmith. I didn't realize he was in the drum section. He grew up on
Johnny?
Central Avenue right there,
Yeah.
at the end of Mount Pleasant Road, or Dog Hill, as we call it.
Steve Harris. He's
Steve Harris is the other
to the right of
direction.
me.
Steve, yeah, he was on tom-tom or tenor drum. He was tenor drum.
Who's that little
Danny
fella?
Altman next
That's
to him.
Danny Altman
Yeah.
to the right.
He's
I
on
didn't remember
snare.
None of that. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Steve Harris was on snare too, because he's holding the sticks like that.
Mm-hmm.
The tenor drums have their mallets across their chests.
Okay.
That's Frank Hendricks on the far left, Johnny Highsmith, Jimmy Duncan bass drum, you on timbales, Steve Harris and Danny Altman on snare, and Dwayne Scurry on cymbals.
Dwayne Scurry. There he is.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be darned.
Now let's talk about the majorettes.
Yeah. That's a yes.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Bunny Brantley. That little-
Teresa Brantley on the left. Margaret.
No.
No, Margaret's over here. Patsy
Patsy Carter.
Carter.
Patsy Carter.
Susan Everett.
Susan Everett. And she went up playing drums in the band.
She did.
Linda K. Allen.
Allen. Margaret something.
Johns.
Johns. And,
What was that little girl?
Tammy?
Tammy somebody.
Yeah. Bless her heart. I hope she's not watching, because we forgot.
She's a pretty little
your
thing.
last name.
Well, look at all of them. They just as pretty as they can be.
That was a very small high school band right there. You look at it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Probably 30 people in that band.
I don't see Barbara Hennett there, but she had the sousaphone. She played it when I first started. She probably graduated and wasn't in that group.
Now that band grew.
The sousaphone, yeah.
That band sure grew
Oh yeah.
in the 4 years that I was in
Well,
high
Mr.
school
Bowles, he made it. He helped that band grow a bunch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now let's talk about your. Now you were in the high school band prior to Bowles
Yeah.
getting
Charlie
there, right?
Harvey Griffin.
Who?
Charlie Harvey Griffin. He lived out
Charlie Harvey.
where that church is on the right out there. You go out Central Avenue past
Oh,
your
really?
house, and where you
Okay.
turn to the right at that church,
Yeah.
right there on the
Tomberlin?
corner, Tomberlin Road, is
Yeah.
it? Right on that corner is it's the road that goes down to Southwood School.
Yeah,
Is that Tomberlin?
Tomberlin.
it is.
Well, Griffin lived right on the corner right there.
Across from the church, right there.
And I went to a
dog.
band party or something, and I don't remember. That's how I know where he lived there. But I got he was, you was talking about a while ago about how we had it looked like military uniforms and hats. And
It was those.
yeah, okay. Well, he was a strict, the cadences, old military cadences.
Yeah.
Well, we were, and I was competitive back then. With drumming and stuff. I kind of was cut from a different cloth from what Mr. Griffin wanted the band to sound like, you know, because we had another band in town. It was Center High School.
Oh man,
And
that
you
was
talking
the
about
black high school.
That was the black high school.
And they were good.
You talking about? Oh
Put
man,
it on. Now they knew
Yeah.
how to what we used to call styling and profiling.
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't make a 90-degree turn on a corner. They'd make a 270-degree turn on a corner. And
it was like a pinwheel.
The big Sousa, is it the tuba?
Tuba.
No, the sousaphone. That's the big one, isn't it, with the big bell?
Well, what's those on the back row there? Those are sousaphones, aren't they?
I thought they were tubas. Yeah,
Tubas
that's
is big.
sousaphone.
Tuba's the one that you wrap, you crawl
That's
inside
crawl
it,
in it.
and it's got a big a bell
You're right.
that comes out over your shoulder.
And those, only one we had, it's not in that picture because
You can't fit a tube in a picture.
well, that might have been the reason, but it was just an old dull looking thing. But you saw those tubes at Central High,
Center
High School.
Mm-hmm.
You could see yourself in them, shiny, and they were up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how they do that marching,
Yeah.
and here we are just plodding along.
Well,
And they had and their cadences, what they marched to, the cadences was
Technical.
it was funk, is what it was.
it was early funk.
And I said, this is what I want right here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charlie Harvey had us playing that old military cadence, and anyway, I was somehow got to be what they call a section leader, drum section leader. And I put together a cadence. I said, now this is what we're going to do. And I told the drum section, and I showed it to them, and we all got it going, and we said, okay, this is it. Well, we had to leave Mary Street Park, you know. Well, we got down there about 2 or 3 blocks, and I said, all right, let's hit it, boys.
Throw this.
And we went to throwing down. Well, I didn't know that old Charlie Griffin was walking the sidewalk around with us.
Uh-huh.
Well, he got to looking, and I finally caught sight of him because I didn't know what livid meant at that time, but he was not a happy camper. But I kept right on going, and we finished that parade with some fine cadences.
Yeah.
And he had a real stern talking to me after that was over with. He says, "That's not the way we do it.
Yeah.
And if you need to play that, you need to go somewhere else to another school." I think he told me where I needed to go, but I loved it. I mean, it was it was what I wanted to do. But anyway, me and him didn't see eye to eye on the cadences. One time we went to Lowndes County. This same band right here went to Lowndes County of Valdosta.
Mm-hmm.
I know that because the band, when Mr. Griffin was there, he would, about all you did for a halftime show is you go out and march on the field and you make the letters for the opposing team. So Lowndes County, we make a LC. And I don't know who was supposed to start the C off, but they didn't do it. So here we are. The halftime show was a big L. And then we played Washington Post, which was the only song we knew. And nobody made the C.
What the hell is L? What? There's capital L and little L.
Man, he was. I don't know what happened. I'm hoping. I don't think it was my fault, which could have been. But anyway, that was Mr. That was
Charlie
that band.
Griffin.
And he was
that school started in 59. So 67 was only 8 years later, you know. And he had been the band director for probably since the school opened. And he had run his course, you know. I don't imagine. There was not much of a band program when he was there, you know.
No, there wasn't.
It just wasn't. It was county school, you know, county high school. And
Mr. Bowles come on.
John R. Bowles came that year, 67, 68, and he started turning that thing into something. Did
you know he lived on Stanton Avenue?
No, I didn't know that. Yeah.
He lived right down the street from me.
Okay. Not attendance, but participation. You know, students signing up for band went up. They started developing kind of like the farm club, the farm team, the lower schools started having band in elementary. You know, you could get into band in the 6th grade. You know, and that started feeding into the high school. By the time you got to high school, you were in the marching band, and the band was just growing exponentially. You know, by the time I left high school, that band was big, a lot bigger than it was in 67, 68.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasure. I enjoyed playing it. But you were gone. I mean, I marched in one halftime show my freshman year. They let all of us new guys get out there, and it was one of the last games of the year where we dressed up like Mexicans. I remember we had ponchos and sombreros and all that, and we played, what was that song we played? Siboney, I think was the name of the song. It's a Spanish song. And I got to play the cowbell on the sideline. Yeah, all right. And that was a big thrill for me. But the next year, my sophomore year, you were gone.
Well, you know, I got to thinking, why did I leave that band? Chances are it's because I was playing in the Wall of Sound, and we stayed
busy.
Yeah.
On the weekends.
On the weekends.
Yeah.
And maybe I just
right.
quit with that band and just was staying with the rock band or whatever.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah. I had some fun times in high school band though. That was a lot of fun. Were you ever in the band?
I played trumpet in 7th grade.
You blew.
Yeah, I was a blower. Not a beater, but I was a blower.
We was beaters. How did you?
I was the only. I wanted to play. I think I wanted to play snare drum, and they're like, "There's too many snare drums."
Too many.
Like there was a whole line of them. And then I wanted to play saxophone. No, we got 20 saxophone players. And then my uncle's like, "Well, I got a trumpet." And my parents decided that was cheaper than having to go get something. And so I was the one trumpet. So I was all the chairs. But,
first chair,
but it was,
third chair.
What would suck was they were like, "Saxophone, play your part." And every one of them, you know, some of them might not even have been playing.
Yeah.
And then, all right, trumpet. And I'm like, and then they would just ride me though. Like I didn't have anybody to hide behind.
So you did that for how long?
I think maybe 7th and 8th.
Dang.
And I didn't. When I went to high school, I didn't carry on with the.
That was
band.
enough, huh?
I didn't ever become one with the trumpet, and I wanted to play guitar, which now I could have done in the band, but I couldn't have done it then.
Yeah, they got guitar players in the bands nowadays, don't they? They haul an amp out there on the sideline and plug in and everything. It's lots changed. I remember Ray Heron, or rather Billy Ray Heron, who we had on one of our early episodes, was in the marching band under Charlie Griffin too.
He was.
Yeah, he was actually. He started out a year ahead of me. He was born in 52. And so that would put him a year ahead of me. And he must have got held back or failed 9th grade or something like that, because we ended up together. Maybe it was 10th grade that he failed. And we kind of caught up with one another. But he must have been in the marching band the year before I got to high school, and how he landed in there, I'll never know, because I don't think ever played an instrument at Memorial Drive Elementary, but he was a trombonist. And he said his memory of it was that they were out there at halftime marching down the sidelines, and, and he missed a turn. and evidently he was leading the procession, and they were supposed to turn left at the 40-yard line or something. He just went straight down that sideline, kept going, and everybody else behind him turned, and he got way down to the end zone and heard the laughter from and probably heard that the rest of the music in his ears was getting fainter and fainter. Finally, he turned around and looked, and everybody was out on the field in a formation, and he was by himself.
Dang. That's funny.
But Charlie Griffin I'm sorry. I hate to talk about a Griffin, but he just did not have it. I don't think that band was going anywhere but down. And, high school band, you had to go to other competitions and stuff. They had competitions in other towns, where all the bands from the Southeast would come and get ranked, and compete against one another for the best in their marching or the best in concert band and everything. And I don't think much of that there wasn't a resume before Bowles got there.
No.
That was fun, though.
Yeah, we didn't have to get ranked because we was about as ranked as it got. That wasn't the greatest band in the world. But when Mr. Bowles came, he put some excitement in the program, and he got people excited about it. And the band members, everybody said, "Yeah, we can do this." And he's changed the music that we were playing and quit with all this, old stuff, and put some newer stuff in there and stuff we enjoyed playing.
I remember bringing him. I was into Jimmy Duncombe, the old bass drum player there. He had a bass guitar, and as my junior and senior year of high school, I started hearing the bass guitar, everything, records, radio, everything. I zeroed in on that bass, and I wanted to play one so bad, and I borrowed his bass guitar. That's what I first learned my early stuff on. Moving from high school into first rock and roll bands and stuff, I was a bass player. And but I think it was my senior year of high school, I brought one of my Chicago albums to school and gave it to Mr. Bowles, and he took it home with him and charted out Make Me Smile, the Chicago song. And we performed that at halftime show. That was pretty cool. He was picking some modern music, you know, and even the old stuff was relevant, as far as his choices went, we played stuff like Wendy, the Association, stuff like that. It was fun. So, let's see. So, fast forward to about 86 or 87, we had put together a band called the Keepers, and that was when you were in the band. That picture there.
There's Joe.
That would have been after you joined.
Yeah, I'm on the left over there. Boy.
You look like you'd been out in the sun.
Something happened there.
And that's you on the left, and Wayne Scarborough next to you, Ricky Taylor, our sound man, And that's me and Joe Shear on the other side there. That was a backdrop somebody drew.
Drew, her name was Drew Duggar. Was that her name?
It's not the girl that my brother dated.
That's exactly.
Really? She was the artist?
Yep.
Dang, I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
It's an old hot rod.
It's an old hot rod. Yeah, you can't see the headlights because we're in the way. There they are up there.
Yeah, there they are right there.
Yeah, she drew that. She's an artist.
I did not remember that. My brother dated her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, they were in one of these other pictures from that night. That might have been that same night that they were at Emmeline's. I got a picture of them on the dance floor. We might have unveiled the backdrop that night or something. But we used to play a lot at Emmeline and Hesse's. But prior to you getting in the band, old drummer buddy of mine from the 70s band days was John Randall Smith. He was one of our earlier episodes too. Mm-hmm. We formed the Keepers in '85, and then he left quite quickly. He left, might have been on a Tuesday, and we had gigs on Friday.
Dang.
Yeah, and we were sweating that now, and then all of a sudden, I don't know how your name was recommended, or somehow or another we got in touch with one another, and you came over to Joe's garage in his backyard,
that's right.
and we woodshedded in Joe's shop in the backyard.
Right. I remember that.
And it was December. It was cold weather, but we was out there giving it all we had and working you into the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And you debuted with us that weekend. Somewhere we were booked steadily back, and the Keepers were.
Mm-hmm.
And we played a lot at this restaurant/club over in Brunswick, or right on the St. Simon's Causeway. I guess it had a St. Simon's address called Emmeline and Hesse's.
Yeah.
It was right there on the right where Coastal Kitchen is now. And boy, that was a happening place now. See my little Korg there?
Yep.
To my left. This song right here is where we're all across the front there. Was an a cappella thing that we did. What was it, Blue Moon? Might
have been. We did Blue Moon. We did
the old
So Fine. We did that one too. A cappella.
Oh yeah. That was a Temptation song.
Yeah. Do you remember when the power went off over in Valdosta? And I think it was at the King of the Road.
It was, yeah.
And we had a lightning storm, and the power went off, and we was
electrified, amplified.
We had a gig to do, and did you know, this is one of the very first times that I said, "Hey, these guys don't mind stepping out." And I believe it was Dave he just started singing to the crowd. We just got off stage, started walking around, singing a cappella because we couldn't play anything to that crowd. And I'm thinking, and I'm singing, but I'm thinking these guys are good, and y'all were. the voices, we all sounded good together.
We was a harmony band.
Yeah, that's the truth.
This is funny. I saw this picture right here the other day. That guy in the foreground on the left right there is now the karaoke DJ at Boondocks. And I saved that picture to my desktop at home on the computer. I wanted to get that to him somehow. Because I stop in at Boondocks every now and then, coming from a gig in Brunswick, and he loves to see me walk through the door, and he gets me up there to sing every time we go in there. That's Joe way back there.
Yeah.
In the corner, singing, and he had to stay on that side in front of his mic.
Yeah.
He couldn't. Well, he was probably playing the guitar part on whatever song that was.
No,
that's right. It was acapella. You ain't playing anything.
He was probably there where he could hear his monitor because he had to stay in his monitor pretty well to.
Yeah, that's Emmeline's.
That's Emmeline's right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The dance floor was right on top. It was outdoors. Well, it was covered. It was a covered section, but in the summertime, they had this plastic windows. In other words, that plastic would roll up in the summertime, and then in the wintertime, they'd let it down and heat it somehow or another. Space heaters or something. But summertime, them sand gnats would take you off.
Man, they're bad over there. They're
so
still bad over there.
You notice we got these white ass tuxes on, tails. We had white and black. And that was a pretty cool look. I might get. Y'all email us at somethinginthewaterpodcast@gmail.com if you disagree with my statement. It was a pretty cool look. We thought it was. It's kind of funky chic, you know. It was like the tails were formal, and then the rest of our hair was jeans and T-shirts and stuff. So we had a good time with it.
I'm going to tell this about Dave. When we had our black one gig we were at somewhere, and we had our black tails on, and we went to the bathroom. We took a break, and whenever we went to the bathroom, he went in there. He got the toilet paper, and he stuck it in the back of his pants, and had him about 30 feet of toilet paper. And so we walked back. We're going back to get on stage to play again, and then here comes Dave bringing up the rear. He waits till everybody else gets there. Then here he's coming walking across the dance floor with about 30 feet of toilet paper. In that face, you know how he can just, what is it? What's the deal? I thought I was going to die. But he was doing practical jokes like that all the time, just crazy stuff. Just deadpan. I don't know what my face was so red about, or something.
Well, you weren't. You were not a drinker in those days. You had already.
No.
You had already quit drinking back in those days. You used to drink O'Doul's, didn't you?
Yes. So one time I drink them if I wanted to drink.
Did you play at Christopher's with us?
Oh yeah.
With us?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I couldn't remember when it was that John left. And
we played at Christopher's, and then it changed to another name. We played there too. Skippers. Wasn't it called Skippers?
I can't even remember, man.
Yeah.
There was one of the nights we had the black tails on. But
yeah.
You and Joe, well, you being the drummer, you took yours off.
I get it, yeah.
You'd have to.
Get the sweat.
Joe took his off too, it looks like, down there.
Mm-hmm.
You could feel that whole floor shake at Emmeline's, though. It's like up on stilts, you know. It was like second story, looking over the marshes, and we get to rocking and rolling, and the people on the dance floor right out there in front of us. You feel that whole
thing moving.
Yeah.
Mm. Dave, do you remember the Pink Panther outfit? And you played at the Phoenix Hotel? Was it Phoenix?
Oh, God. That's William Clark, the local eye doctor, threw a Halloween party at the Phoenix Hotel.
Don't he have that picture? Didn't we throw that up there the other day?
No, that was from I wore the Pink Panther at many gigs. And it debuted at the National Guard Armory back during the Down Home Band. I don't think I have a copy of
it's at the
National Guard Armory there. But it's the same outfit, same costume that I wore at the Phoenix.
That place was packed out at the Phoenix, and what I remember about it was afraid the floor was going to collapse because they were dancing and that whole floor was moving.
Mm-hmm.
There was a pile of folks at that place.
That guitar right there, that Strat, I bought from Johnny Logan.
Really?
Yeah. I've gone through so many different guitars over the... There's a 9th chord that I'm playing right there. It looks like an E 9th on the 12th fret. That might have been Play That Funky Music White Boy right there.
Been.
Or Pink Boy.
Pink Boy.
Play that funky music, Pink Boy.
Play that Panther music, Pink Boy.
Play that Panther music, Pink Boy by Wild Pink Cherry. That was a cool outfit, though. That costume, my mama made that.
Dave looked like he weighed about 60 pounds, skinny.
I did. No, my weight from high school, senior in high school, was about 128, and it did not fluctuate either way until I hit 40. And then metabolism, several factors made that change, and I gained from 128 to 150, just like that. Then it stabilized at 150 for years and years, you know. Now I'm proud to say that I'm pushing 180.
No.
Yeah. I can't get enough.
Well, that funky stuff.
That funky food. That's what quitting smoking will do for you, folks. They always say that it's immediate weight gain. Well, better believe it.
You sound like you're trying to talk people out of stopping smoking.
I would highly recommend smoke them if you got them. Well, I'm going to do a tale of the week for all you fine folks out there in Something in the Water podcast land. This is from my blogs, which I used to do a few years back. And this one is relevant to our good guest tonight, Mr. Gary Brown. Between September of 1980 and 1985, I moved from Tallahassee, Florida, back home to Waycross, where we started up the original down-home band. Got married to my first wife, fathered a beautiful daughter, got a degree in computer programming, took a break from music, was office manager for the local Coca-Cola bottling company, went through a divorce from my first wife, and then hired on with the Postal Service. All that in 5 years. 3 months into my mail sorting career, I formed a new band with Joe Shear, John Randall Smith, Phillip Walker, and sound man Ricky Taylor. We called it The Keepers and formulated our song list based on the concept that anything lasting for 20 or 25 years qualifies as nostalgic. The music of the 60s certainly qualified. It was music that we grew up listening to as kids, like Devil with a Blue Dress On, Good Golly Miss Molly by Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, who back in the 60s played the Waycross City Auditorium, snubbed the audience by cutting their performance short, only to find that the tires on their traveling vehicle had been cut as well. The Temptations, I Can't Get Next to You, My Girl, a cappella version of The Way You Do the Things You Do. Groovin' and I've Been Lonely Too Long by the Young Rascals, Tommy James and the Shondells' Crystal Blue Persuasion, Cry Like a Baby by the Box Tops, The Outsiders, Time Won't Let Me, featuring the lead vocals of Sonny Garachi, whose biggest hit came in 1972 with Precious and Few by Climax, and a show-stopping medley of Four Top songs, I Can't Help Myself, otherwise known as Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. Standing in the shadows of love. It's the same old song. Reach out, I'll be there, and baby, I need your loving. Before we could begin rehearsing properly, we needed to pick up a PA system and everything that goes with it. So we struck out before sunrise one Saturday, headed to Atlanta's Buckhead District and Rhythm City Music Store, where our old Valdosta musician buddy Roger Brainerd was employed. As it was decided that I would also play keyboards, I bought a small Korg synthesizer that so aptly reproduced horn, organ, string, and piano sounds that even I sounded like I knew what I was doing. Along with a PVT 60 electric guitar so heavy that I'm confident my wearing of it in the 80s resulted in my current suffering of left shoulder bursitis and a right groin inguinal hernia that I can't get fixed till COVID slows down. Our first paying gig as the Keepers was for the local Alcoholics Anonymous Christmas party. Y'all sound really good. Coming out of the mouth of a sober person carries a whole lot more weight than that of somebody who's been drinking peppermint schnapps for 2 hours straight. Yeah. Old schnapps would be impressed if you just broke a guitar string or sang a little sharp on Sharp Dressed Man. As in all the bands I've ever played in, the Keepers had to go through several personnel changes, the first being the loss of our bass player, Phillip Walker. We quickly found a replacement in a local Kirby vacuum cleaner salesman by the name of Napoleon Williams, who was not quite the singer Phillip was, but still we turned him loose once a night on Jackie Wilson's Your Love Keep Lifting Me Higher and Higher. And Napoleon, there he is, right there.
Yeah.
He's right there on the right. That's John Smith, myself, Joe Shear, and Napoleon. Napoleon, he always sang that line in the Higher and Higher was, disappointment was my closest friend. He always sang it, disappointed. Disappointed was my closest friend. and he would sing backup because harmony on the Eagles' Best of My Love, because we didn't have enough people to cover the parts, so we'd push him into service, you know. You got the best of my love. You got the best of my love. He was not a natural vocalist like our former bass player was. We qualified as nostalgic ourselves by the mid-'80s, having played in a lot of places, sometimes with famous or near-famous people. Napoleon's credentials were as tight as a tutu on a 200-pound ballerina. His earlier work was with the touring version of Cornelius Brothers and Sister Rose, a popular early 70s vocal group from Dania Beach, Florida, with a couple of big hits, Treat Her Like a Lady and Too Late to Turn Back Now. Eventually, Napoleon's superb vacuum cleaner salesmanship led him away to Valdosta. So we called up our old bass player from the mid-'70s group Down Home, T. Wayne Scarborough. My daddy, as a boy, used to live in a big wooden 2-story house on the corner of Lee Avenue and Hicks Street in Waycross. Years later, it became a Dodge dealership, and by 1986, it was known as Christopher's, a nightclub run by Jerry Saunders. The Keepers were the first band to play the new club. The crowds were steady and supportive, so with a crowbar and a sledgehammer, Jerry Saunders knocked down a dividing wall, opening the place up into a 60s replica bar room with a black and white tile dance floor and surrounding booths sculpted in red naugahyde. Drummer John Randall Smith left the group soon after, paving the way for drummer and multi-instrumentalist, that guy, Gary Brown, original keyboard player for Waycross band The Wall of Sound. The new lineup carried on, playing Emmeline and Hesse's Dockside Restaurant on St. Simon's Island, the Douglas Country Club, and maybe a goat roping or a frog gigging. 50 out of 52 weeks in 1989, leading me to say, I can't do this anymore. Many a night as the last chord fluttered into the night along with the St. Simon's Sand Gnats, I'd throw my PVT 60 in its case and haul ass to Waycross, making it to the post office just in time to clock in for my 3 a.m. shift. That schedule took its toll on me physically and emotionally as I watched my second marriage turn into my second divorce. Terry Pender, local keyboardist, saxophonist, and fine songwriter, took my place in the Keepers. And adding Rita McDaniel on vocals and percussion, that group went on for another 13 years. That's some pretty good longevity for a band, right up there with the Bee Gees. Damn sure lasted longer than my first 2 marriages put together.
Good.
Yeah. Well, buddy, we have enjoyed having you. Walking back down memory lane. Is there anything you wanted to say that we hadn't covered, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think you covered it pretty well. We've made a lot of music together and separately, and a lot of different groups over our lives.
Yeah. Oh, your son, we was talking about this earlier. You've got a son, Dustin Brown, who lives over in Brunswick. That
I know.
is an old classmate of yours. Huh?
Mm-hmm. I like old Dustin now. He's my buddy.
He plays guitar now.
Well, every time, and I think the last time that I ran into your son was at Pine Box Dwellers gig.
At Tipsy's?
At Moss.
Was it? They come to Moss?
Yeah, he came to Moss. It was sometime last year, I believe it was. And I'll have to say, every time I run into any of your children, they always nice to me, and they always come up and speak and everything. So a shout out to Gary's kids. Y'all, I hope y'all are watching tonight. And your daddy done real good raising y'all, I'll have to say. Yeah. Well, buddy, we have enjoyed talking with you, and
I enjoyed it too. I appreciate you asking me.
Yes, sir.
Good time.
Yeah. And folks, we'll see y'all on the next episode. Come back. You hear?
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.